pets just aren't my thing. When I was 6 years old, I got this indigo blue fish, and I named her Diamond because she looked expensive and fancy. I was 6 years old, and I was living in Flatbush, Brooklyn, in New York, with my mom, my aunt, and my cousin, and we lived in a 3-bedroom apartment. I was super excited to get my first pet. My cousin already had an aquarium full of fish, and I was going to be adding her to the tank. And I did, but shortly after, we had to remove her because she was biting and fighting the other fish. She even killed one of them. So we took her out of the aquarium and we moved her to a fish bowl by herself right underneath it. We were able to save the other fish, but unfortunately, that was the end for Diamond. A rat got inside of her bowl and attempted to bite her and eat her and drowned in the process. That was the end for her. When I was 7 years old, my aunt came home with a hamster. And me and my cousin was aware that we were getting something. We didn't know what it was. She told us that she was bringing us something. We were going back and forth like, oh, is it a new toy? Oh, is it Wendy's chicken nuggets? And I was secretly hoping that it was gonna be a bigger place because we were no longer in that 3-bedroom apartment. Now, me, my mother, and cousin were in a studio, 1-room apartment, still in Flatbush, Brooklyn, which meant there was no room for WWE SmackDown matches that me and my cousin would have. There was no more hide and seek because there was nowhere to hide. And that means no pets. So I was really shocked when she came home with this small, furry, beige and white hamster that we named Harry. We all fell in love with him. He was just the sweetest hamster, and he was super easy to take care of. Unfortunately, Harry passed because he was old and hamsters don't last that long. And we had a burial ceremony for him in Prospect Park. And a week later, we went back, me and my cousin, to visit Harry, and we noticed that the local animals in the park dug him up. And we saw little pieces of remains of him, and that was hard for a 7-year-old kid to grasp. We were pretty much heartbroken. That was my last time in Brooklyn. Around the age of 7.5, me and my mom went on this journey of moving. We moved to Washington Heights, then we moved back to our hometown in Montgomery, Alabama, and then back to New York City to Harlem, where we stayed with my great aunt. My great aunt was a heavily religious woman, and I thought I could win her over by asking, can I have a responsibility, which was a pet? And she said, hell no. And she didn't use the word hell. She was like, no pets in this house. We didn't stay there long, and unfortunately, me and my mother became homeless. I was 8 years old, and we entered the shelter system in New York City in Bronx, New York. Sorry. And we entered the shelter system in the Bronx, New York. We ended up staying in the shelter system for 2 years. By the age of 10, we finally received housing. We received New York City Public Housing, also known as NYCHA, AKA the projects. And I did not care where we ended up. I was just so happy that we had our own home and I had my own room. And shortly after, my Uncle JR came and he moved in. See, Uncle JR was a character. He was my mom's older brother. He stood about under 6 feet, bald head, black guy, and he dressed to the T. He loved dressing, just like any other gay man in New York City. But Uncle JR had some habits, like promises that he never would come through with. He would always say, yeah, I got you on that money. Oh, yeah, we're gonna go get that toy. Oh, no, we're gonna go take this trip, and we never did anything. And he also had another habit of picking up things off the street. So he would come home with like a new mirror or a new dresser that he would find that people threw out. It was so bad that if we would be walking home and saw something that we thought he might bring upstairs, we would move it to the next block. Around the time Uncle JR came into our home, I had been hinting to my mom that I wanted a pet specifically a hamster. And Uncle JR kept saying, I'll get it for you, I got you. And my mom said, girl, do not listen to your Uncle JR. You will be waiting on nothing forever. But he proved her wrong. One evening, he comes home from work, and he hands me a box with a hamster in it. And I'm excited. But I'm also like, Uncle JR, where's the cage? It's just a box. He said, I'm gonna get you a cage tomorrow. This box should hold him overnight. That night, I went to sleep and woke up about 50 times to the noise of chewing and squeaking and shredding, and I'm like, oh my God, it's that damn hamster. And when I woke up, the box had a hole in it. There was cardboard all over the floor, and he was gone. I searched my room, and I found him in one of my Nikes. And I went to pick him up, and he bit me. And I threw him against the wall so hard, I thought I killed him. I was like, oh my God, like my hamster. But he was perfectly fine. Like nothing had happened to him. So I needed to put him into something else. So I put him into one of my old Huggy containers for wipes. I poked some holes in it, taped the top closed, and I placed him in there. And I went to school. When I came home, he had chewed his way through plastic, through a Huggies container, and he was again gone, escaped. And I just kept thinking, why is this hamster trying to leave me? What did I do to you that makes you want to run away from me? I found him again, and this time I put on some winter gloves and plastic gloves just to pick him up, because I was not trying to get bit again. And that's the time when I actually really looked at him and noticed how ugly he was. He was nothing like Harry. Nothing at all. He was long. He had gray and brown patchy fur. I don't know what to call it. It was pretty much fine hair. It wasn't fluffy like a hamster. And the weirdest part about him was that he had a tail, but it looked like someone chopped half of it off. Like it was missing something. And he had these huge buck teeth, like a naked mole rat from that Kim Possible Disney Channel show. So my last resort was to put him in, the only thing that my uncle brought with him besides the box was this ball, which hamsters can roll around the house in. So that was his new home, 24/7 in this ball. I would only take him out and place him in a box to feed him. And I had his hamster food and some water, and he would never eat his hamster food at all. Instead, if my mom was frying chicken in the kitchen, he would roll in his ball, sniffing around, licking the ground. And I was like, Ma, do you see this? She goes, yeah, I don't know what this is about. So one day I snuck him a piece of chicken, just a little piece, and he ate it. So after that, we started feeding him our leftovers. So inside his bowl would be whatever we ate, rice, beans, chicken, steak, whatever we ate, he ate. He didn't eat hamster food. And one day I came to a realization that I didn't want this hamster anymore. My other uncle came over to visit, and the first thing he did when he walked in and saw him rolling around in the ball is kicked him like a soccer ball. And he went flying. I screamed, my hamster. And he said, ain't no damn hamster, that's a rat. And my mom said, leave her alone, Uncle JR bought her it. He said, oh, Uncle JR? Really? You're gonna accept something from him? This is definitely a rat then. And when he said that, my mom started to get more concerned. He went on a rant saying that, who brings rats to the projects? Are you asking for more rodents? Like, this is a health hazard. So my mom started to become a little bit concerned, and I was already ready to get rid of him. So we started talking. I was like, listen, Mom, I'm just gonna throw him down the incinerator. And she was like, I don't know if you should do all that, but, you know, we can definitely get rid of him. My uncle comes home, Uncle JR, and he's like, look, I got a cage for him. And it's a fish tank. I'm like, Uncle JR, this is a fish tank. He's like, same thing, it's a cage. I'm like, it doesn't have bars on it, it's just glass. He can't be in this. He's like, yes, he can. So I open up his ball and I just dump him in there. And I look at Uncle JR, I said, Uncle JR, I don't want this anymore. Like, I don't want this pet. And I said, I didn't even name him. Does he even have a name? And he goes, actually, he does. His name is Bucky. I'm like, oh, yeah, explains the teeth. So I'm looking at him. We're looking at him in the tank, and my uncle can see the disgust on my face. And even he was like, looking a little weary. He's like, all right, I'm going to take him back to the pet shop. I said, okay. So, like, the next night, I'm like, Uncle JR, so what happened when you took him back to the pet shop? He goes, well, actually, I decided to just let him out free. I said, where? He's like, outside. I said, so you just let him out outside? He goes, yeah. I said, okay. I said, what kind of hamster was he, Uncle JR? He was like, starts having this little sneaky laughter face, and he was the king of pranks. So he was just like, well, actually, he's a mixed breed. I'm like, mixed with what? He goes, all right, I'm gonna tell you how I got him. The pet store next to my job, and at the time he was working at Uno's Chicago Grill as a server, and he was like, the pet store next door was going out of business, and they gave it to me for free. And he is a hamster mixed with a rat. He's a rampster. I was humiliated, embarrassed, disgusted that I had been taking care of this, basically a rat. And I decided that I would never ask Uncle JR for anything else ever again. And that sometimes some things is better left to the unknown. Thank you.